so happy that I can take you with me here today for my little field test.
Are you sleepy? I'm about to go test my lactate threshold 0.1. Maybe that would also be a good thing to do for you. Or are you just tired? Probably you know your lactate threshold.
Alright guys, finally, I'm so happy that I can take you with me here today for a little experiment, a field test, so I can finally confirm my LT1, my lactate threshold 0.1, because we have actually 2 points, 2 lactate thresholds. Everybody can do this experiment, but again, big disclosure here at this moment. Not a coach, not a scientist, not a doctor. I'm not a pro athlete whatsoever. So if you want to do this little experiment by yourself, and keep in mind that what I share here is based on my experience. So break it down and make sure that it fits your own abilities. That's it. Fingers crossed. I hope it will stay dry. I planned this field test here yeah, for a little while, but couldn't get it done because of the rain season here on Okinawa. Just crazy. Every day rain, especially in the evening. So when I finished work, lace up, this was the moment. Just pouring down, you know. But now, I think we can get it done and stay dry. I want to keep this experiment, that little field test here, as casual as any possible, because I want everybody to understand why this lactate threshold test is very essential, I think. So yeah, that little experiment needs to be prepared, right? So, but first let me start with some background information, so you understand why I do this test. It's not just because I feel like doing it. Of course, there's a reason behind. So again, this test is all about confirming, basically, the lactate threshold 0.1. You have 2 points, 2 lactate thresholds. This is what we can be quite sure about. Yes, LT1 and LT2. This little test here is basically based on the research and the science of Dr. Seiler, a famous scientist when it comes to endurance sport, especially cycling and running. He's saying that there are only 3 intensity zones: low intensity, medium and high intensity. If you have 3 zones, you have to have something in between, and that what is in between are our lactate threshold points, whatever. Yes, it's not really a fixed number, you know. It's, I think, kind of a blending zone to go from one intensity to the other. But I think your body has biological ceilings, and it can actually feel those thresholds. So this is very important to understand here. So I'm not just doing crazy stuff here. What I share here is based on science. Some other scientists did already the research, and now I basically bring it to action. So, Dr. Seiler, that famous scientist, saying, well, you have your max heart rate, and you probably also have your resting heart rate. But let's assume you just have your max heart rate. In my case, that would be roughly about 195 beats per minute. He's saying take 75%. I don't know what that is actually. You can do the math. I think it's roughly 145 beats per minute. Right, if that's my LT1, the math is so easy. But maybe you don't know your max heart rate. You can also do the math with your lactate threshold 0.2. So in case you have a running watch, whether it's a Garmin, a Chorus, they might estimate that for you. Very convenient, and I would say quite accurate. You shouldn't blindly believe that it's your fixed number, no, but it's probably somewhere pretty close. So yeah, if you have your LT2 point, your lactate threshold heart rate, provided by your running watch, then take roughly 85%. And the scientists are quite okay with that number. Well, the approach is a bit different. Seiler saying, well, there are those biological ceilings and you shouldn't deal with it. Some other scientists saying, well, you should stay flexible, and therefore your lactate threshold 0.2 is relevant. I don't know what's right or wrong, but I think they're all kind of pretty similar. So again, in my case, my LT2, my lactate threshold 0.2 is 175 according to my Garmin running watch. If I take 85%, same. I would be roughly at like 145 beats per minute. So yeah, those are the conditions basically that you have to fulfill. That's all to prepare for that experiment. So if you know either your max heart rate or your lactate threshold 2, you can define your lactate threshold 0.1. Easy. Again, 75% of your max heart rate, or roughly 85% of your lactate threshold 0.2. About this format here, I would say, well, just roughly 5K would be okay. If you have 5K in front of you, if you can do it, you should have, let's say, a solid foundation when it comes to your low aerobic fitness. If you can run 5K, I think you can participate. You can do this test. If you have 6K, would be better. If you have 8K, of course, brilliant. If you have 10K or even more, amazing. But let's do it like I do. I have duration. I have 50 minutes, just roughly, you know. So what I do, first 10 minutes warm up, and then another 10 minutes after that warm up, I increase my pace just a bit, because I don't want my heart rate to jump. I want to let it increase slowly but steadily to that LT1 point that we just calculated. Again, in my case, it should be roughly 145 beats. We're on the conservative side here. By the way, it started raining again. So yeah, well, I could explain you about the background of this test, why we are doing it, why I want to confirm my LT1, but now it's about why this is important. Well, most of training models out there, whether it's 80-20, whether it's polarized, a pyramid model, all of them have something in common, more or less. The majority of your runs should be at low intensity. And therefore, to understand where your LT1 point is might be quite important, because you don't want to reach that medium intensity. Again, keep in mind, there's not a fixed point, not just a number. It's more of a blending zone. So you shouldn't go panic mode if you reach that LT1 point and then exceed and say, whoa! No, just chill. Oh. All right, we have to hurry here, by the way. But today we get it done, regardless. So basically we set up everything. If you have a running watch, of course, you also know your heart rate. I would say it's not mandatory to know your heart rate, but part of that experiment here as well is, once I reach that lactate threshold 0.1, I want to carefully listen to my body. I want to understand how my body feels once it reaches that first biological ceiling. By the way, what is lactate and how do we actually produce that? I think the easiest way how to describe that, when we go too fast, at one point we will start using glycogen instead of fat as our fuel resource. And if you break down glycogen, that means as a byproduct you produce lactate. That's how you and then your body starts cleaning it. That's your LT1 point. This is the point when you produce more lactate than it can actually clean. And you want to actually avoid, let's say for most of the time when you're running easy, when you get your base runs done, the majority of all your runs, that you use glycogen as fuel resource. But fat instead, body fat, excess body fat. Not nice, but I'm done with explaining. I reached 4K mark. I increased my pace steadily, and now my heart rate is exactly at 146 beats. I think we did a pretty good job here. And now we can actually confirm if my calculated LT1 is indeed 145 beats roughly on the lower side, or maybe 148 beats on the upper side. How should we do that? Well, maybe should protect the camera again. Ah dear, come on, just stop. That really sucks. Every time I go out, it starts raining. That's not nice. Anyway, after 4K, there's no way back. We have to get it done here today. 146 beats per minute, just perfect. Running at a pace of 6 minutes per K. Keep in mind, whatever has an impact on your heart rate, the internal measurement of your physical stress, that is something that I say you shouldn't ignore. The heart rate is basically body function number one. No heart rate, no running, of course not. So yeah, I'm quite sure that running here at that pace of 6 minutes per K, I can maintain that heart rate of 146. Whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's raining, the sun is shining, regardless of your terrain, whether you're running uphill, downhill, regardless of your surface, your recovery status, maybe you had bad sleep, good sleep, your diet, everything has impact on your heart rate. But it doesn't really matter. Your heart rate doesn't know where that stress comes from. It just has to deal with it. So you can trust your heart rate. The first thing that I do here is I keep talking. Can I talk in complete sentences without gasping for air too much? Running at that pace and heart rate, 146 beats. Can I talk normally to you? Can I continue doing my blah blah? Yes, I can do that, so I can confirm one of those things to understand if my lactate threshold 0.1 is actually my lactate threshold 0.1. Holy mother. We have to fight against the wind. And I can feel it now. The running with headwind makes me more doing something. I have to put a little bit more effort. What means my heart rate goes a bit up. Running at the same pace. What can I do? Go a bit slower. Keep the heart rate at that first biological ceiling, LT1. Now 6 minutes and 15 seconds per K instead of 6 minutes per K. So let's see if the heart rate comes down. And it does. 144 at the moment. What you should really avoid is to let your heart rate jump. Keep it smooth and steady. That's why after the warm-up, the first 2, 3, 4K are very important. Again, you should let your heart rate increase carefully to that LT1 point. Holy mother. Right, I can talk, no problems. I can double check that with my heart rate. I should be right at that point, LT1. So I can tick the box, confirm that with the talk test. Holy mother. How's my camera doing? I think it's fine. Still fine enough. We have another 500 meters to do, because the next thing you can do to confirm your LT1 point is breathe through your nose. Breathe through your nose. If you can do it for about 500 meters, not only but also not feel the urgency of that you have to breathe through your mouth again. If you don't feel that during that 500 meters and you are relaxed and easy, then this should also confirm pretty much your LT1 point. So we're doing this now. Holy mother. So again, running pace 6 minutes and 10 seconds per K, heart rate stable, 146 at the moment. Exactly. I shut up and breathe through my nose for the next 500 meters. All right, let's go. Right, that's about it. I mean, about a lap in the stadium. I double checked it. Heart rate roughly 146, 47, sometimes 148. But all in all, pretty consistent. And now the big question, do I feel that I have to open my mouth and gasp for air, you know, just like, well, there was a little moment, but I could basically swallow it after like halftime, and then kept running smooth and easy, switched off my brain, and it was quite easy to, well, of course, breathe through my nose. What about talking now? Became a bit more difficult. As you can hear, I have to stop here and then between the sentences to get some air in. That oxygen that I need to clean my lactate. But all in all, running here now at a pace of 6 minutes per K again, my heart rate absolutely reached the plateau here of 146 beats per minute. I think that is absolutely solid. Okay, additional question. Do I think I can continue running for another 2 hours? Actually, I should be able to do so, because I haven't exceeded that LT1 point where I produce more lactate than I can clean. And if that is the case, your body would actually be able to keep on running. However, you also have, well, you cannot deny the physical aspect of running. It's quite a physical stress here. So yeah, probably here and then I use glycogen, and sooner or later I would run out of glycogen, and then basically I'm running into fatigue or against that wall. For example, at the 30k mark at a marathon. This is the reason. If you want to run in eco mode, keep your system below that first biological ceiling, the LT1 point, then I think you can get quite a distance in the books. Or if you go by duration like I do, not infinitive, but you know, just get more minutes in that, you know. All right, 6k mark. I think we are pretty much done here. I can confirm my lactate threshold 0.1. It's so easy. Again, I can summarize that here for you. Make sure you have something to measure your heart rate. Most of you guys hopefully have, I can just recommend that, a running watch. If you know your heart rate, then you probably also know your lactate threshold 0.2. You do the math, you take 85% of it, there you go, you have your LT1 calculated. You have a warm-up, and then after the warm-up, maybe 2, maybe 3k, where you become a bit faster and let the heart rate steadily increase, slowly to that LT1 point. Once you reach that, do the talking test. Can I talk 4 sentences, 5 seconds, 10 seconds without, you know, heavy breathing like I do now? It's just fine. And the second thing you can do to confirm that LT1 point is breathe through your nose. 10 minutes, 1k, 500 meters would be fine. And then listen carefully. Do you feel like you have to again breathe through your nose? If so, then you maybe have exceed that LT1 point. If not, fine, you're right there. Six minutes, 10 seconds here. Go a bit slower. Let my heart rate come down. About to fade out. Well, you can basically continue doing that. If you want to go for another 2K, like I said in the beginning, 10K would be just amazing if you have that in front of you. You can have 1K warm up, another 2K to let your heart rate increase, and then 7K just to constantly running at that LT1 point. Also, I think if you do so, and if you can confirm that LT1 point, you're doing something good for you mentally. That is definitely a boost. I think one more time. The max heart rate 195. 75% according to Seiler would be roughly 145. Conservatively, that's the point. LT1. If I take lactate threshold heart rate, if I maybe even went to a lab, let it test it, or if you believe your running watch, go for it, take 85%. Probably is roughly the same number. Nothing changed, nothing changed. Seriously. Well, I adjust the pace, but when it comes to that feeling, that is very important to understand. Nothing changed. The body is still fine. It's exactly, I think, at that point, or even before, slightly before that point. LT1, I think it's super important. If you again know your LT1 point, you can really start with those training models. '82, 80-20 training model. Maybe you have again the polarized approach. Your heart rate doesn't really lie to you. It will never. Right. So we're pretty much done here today. Is there anything else that I forgot? Yeah, probably. I'm not good at explaining. I want to say that again. But keep in mind that recording this here, whether it's hot, cold, snowy, rainy, sunny, whatever the conditions might be, I also hold the camera all the way, recording all the way, trying not to cut the video, because this experiment is something you should be able to follow, to see, to understand. My intention was just keep it raw and casual. Yeah, well, I'll do the blah blah, but of course. So 7K, 43 minutes. I think it will be just 8K and 50 minutes at the end. Pretty nice. But yeah, I'm super lucky here today. We have heavy rain there in the background again. You cannot really see the mountains. right? We keep on chilling here. Again, keep that in mind. So again, I don't know if you can see it. 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Heart rate 147, 48. All good. Just perfect. You know what? If we have the final numbers at the end, we should actually have something quite similar when it comes to the average heart rate, because only the warm-up was a bit slower, so your heart rate had to climb, you know, and then maybe the first or second K after the warm-up that you need to let your heart rate increase to that LT1 point. So yeah, still a bit below that LT1 point. But all in all, it should be pretty close. So I think if I should estimate my my average heart rate of today's session here, of that little field test, then I think 142 would be pretty close. Pretty close. Maybe 143. Yeah, average pace I can see here already 6 minutes and roughly 10 seconds per K. That's also a good indicator, you know. Your average pace can of course vary according to the conditions that I mentioned. But pace is definitely something that you should avoid when you start running. You should really avoid pace zones at the beginning of your running journey. Or maybe you can trust those paces if you have confirmed your heart rate zones. I'm not talking about intensity zones yet, just your heart rate zones. Your Garmin is doing that for you. You can set up your heart rate zones if you know your lactate threshold 0.1. You can also set up your heart rate zones when you know your max heart rate and maybe your resting heart rate. So you can find out your heart rate reserve, HRR. If then, we can do the math again here. Think about it. We said 145, right? If my resting heart rate, let's say, is 48 beats, so the lowest heart rate you can probably have in the morning before or when you wake up, or let's say 150 to make it simple here. 50 resting heart rate, not 150. Oh my god, 50. And if 195 is my max heart rate, all you need to do is 195 minus 50, the resting heart rate. Again, we have 145 beats. That is exactly what I calculated earlier. So whether you go by this model, if you take this model or that model, doesn't really matter. It's all pretty close. And since I said that's not a point, a fixed point, you know, but it's a blending zone that you have between your intensity zones, then it's pretty much accurate here. Any kind of model you go with. I mean, again, scientists wouldn't be scientists if they would all follow only one model. They adjust here and there and invent their own system, you know. They want to be mentioned somewhere in a training book. $142 running here now at a pace of 6 minutes and 15 seconds per K. I slowed down, the heart rate is doing the same accordingly, and I feel way better when talking to the camera Nice, nice experiment here today. So yeah, 30 seconds to go. Let me go over the final numbers here. And make sure we can actually confirm what we confirmed here today. 20 seconds, guys, come on. Hold on, hold on. $8K in the books. But I said we go by duration. 5 seconds. All right, here we are. Let's go straight. 50 minutes. We have a distance of 8K. Come on. 6 minutes and 12 seconds per K. Current page. We burned 450 calories. 140. Not that bad. I said 142, right? The average heart rate. What can I say? Pretty awesome here today. That experiment finally in the books. I'm so happy, even though you probably had drops on the lens. I'm so relieved that we did it almost in one take. I don't care if I make mistakes. I don't care about my language. I keep that accessible for everybody out there. That's why English is my preferred language. Not my native language, but who cares at the end? Running doesn't need a language. Doesn't need a language. Especially not today. Everybody can do it. Everybody saw what I'm doing. So easy. Alright. Let's continue here. No cars. Oh, good. Done. Done is done. Super happy. Just disconnected my heart rate belt. So how should we rate this run here? Yeah, difficult. Keep that in mind. It's a base run, right? Should be a base run because it's still below your or at your lactate threshold 0.1. So we should actually rate it moderate, easy. So when it comes to the scale 1 to 10, let me say a 3. Not somewhat hard. No, it's not hard. It's in between 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Do I feel normal? Do I feel good? I would say not. Yeah, I'm just fine. Strong, yes, definitely. Let's save this one. Guys, we are done. Take a shower now and continue the day. So happy, so happy. Did it in style. Did it in style. Super nice. Happy. Guys, seriously,